One of the main occupational hazards for communications professionals is dealing with the frustrations of working with internal clients. The space between the communicator and the client is fraught with dangers, disconnects, and delusional expectations. Here's how using the results map methodology can be your arm and your shield in addressing those challenges. The first rule is this: do not accept the conditions that have you set up to fail. This happens a lot. Communicators are put in mission impossible situations all the time, so it's vital that you develop a spidey sense about when this is happening to you so that you can take immediate steps to shift the situation before you're in too deep. An example I see regularly among my clients is that communicators are asked to develop a communications plan for an internal client's project, but the client has no idea what the project's objectives are. That's a red flag. How can you develop a solid communications plan for a project that isn't fully baked? At that point, the best thing to do is to slow down in order to speed up. You might be able to work with the internal client to help her shape her objectives, or, if that's not within your scope, escalate the issue to your manager and work out an alternative, such as delaying the assignment. Another frequent challenge I come across is that a communicator is asked to support a really sensitive file, such as a restructuring announcement, but he can't get the information he needs or participate in meetings because access is reserved for those above his pay grade. There's another warning sign. You can't possibly deliver high-quality communications advice or products unless you have timely access to the right information and business context. Sure, it may mean a confidentiality agreement for sensitive information. That's fine. But you can't responsibly commit to providing professional advice unless you have the right information and access to decision makers. Again, this speaks to the basic issue of being appropriately set up to succeed, which needs to be clarified with your manager and internal client. A classic challenge that communications professionals face is that we're called in too late to make a meaningful difference. While sometimes this can't be avoided, more often the issue is structural or cultural. Communications is an afterthought, and by the time we're called in, there's no way we can respond effectively. This is a tricky one. My advice is to do your best with the cards you've been dealt, but then take the time to follow up with your client to raise the issue in a calm, professional manner. Give examples of similar projects in which you were able to provide a much higher level of support because you were pulled into the process early. Be careful to avoid the trap of becoming part of the problem. If you just roll over and accept these conditions, for example, by pulling an all-nighter so that you can meet the timeline, you're teaching clients that it's okay to call you late in the game because you just keep pulling rabbits out of hats. Then there's the problem of the Goldilocks effect. This happens when you're working with an internal client who can't or won't articulate what they want. They'll only tell you what they don't want. You know the drill. This one's too hot, this one's too cold, this is too hard, this is too soft. It's enough to make you pull your hair out. In this kind of situation, you have no alternative but to refer back to rule number 1. Do not accept the conditions that have you set up to fail. At this point, you have to politely but firmly let your internal client know that it's not a responsible expenditure of the organization's resources to have you produce a bunch of alternatives unless you have a well-defined definition of success. Your best bet is to elevate the conversation from tactics and make sure the strategic context is clear. This is where the results map top 10 questions come in. Ask the client, what does success look like? Or, who are we trying to reach and why? The idea is to break through the tactical tunnel vision and clarify the big picture strategic context for your work. Here are 3 essential sanity-saving strategies that can help you get out of trouble regardless of the specific challenge you're facing with clients. First, to raise your performance, you have to raise your level of altitude. Move the conversation up and out of the weeds. Focus on the ultimate North Star. Ask, what is the ultimate corporate or business objective? How can communications achieve that goal? By looking up, the strategic path forward becomes clear. Secondly, try to depersonalize the discussion. You'll do better when you shift out of an interpersonal subjective conflict and move into a more empirical, neutral conversation. So often, our internal clients become fixated on a particular product they want, like a blog or a video, but they've lost sight of the actual reason why. By asking the question, "Help me understand," or "What problem are we trying to solve?" you can immediately elevate the conversation to a strategic level and identify a more reasoned solution. Finally, wherever possible, do your best to replace noise with evidence. Everyone has an opinion about communications, and our clients often get tripped up in very subjective opinions that have no basis in fact. The unfortunate truth is that when a communicator gets into a fight with someone with a more senior level, or someone with a professional credential such as a lawyer, doctor, or engineer, the communicator is going to lose. So make sure you don't show up to a gunfight armed only with a fly swatter. Be equipped with data and evidence. This might include metrics on past tactics you've used or external industry benchmarks. Developing your consultative practice and creating your own sanity-saving strategies takes time. The Results Map system resources can help. You can learn from other communicators' experiences through the online community and explore concepts and frameworks in more detail through the webinars. You may also want to check out the Strategic Communicators Handbook's advice on consultative skills and how to deliver an effective challenge function. Remember, if you don't invest in setting yourself up to succeed, you can be pretty sure that no one else will do it for you.